Hello and welcome to another Java tutorial. In today's tutorial we will going to be converting an if condition into an equivalent switch condition. Now let's first understand what switch statements are generally used for. Switch statements are very useful when you have a single variable that needs to be checked against several different conditions. If conditions are generally used if you have multiple variables that needs to be checked against different conditions. Another reason an if condition is used in Java is if the condition that you're checking against is not an equality condition. If it's greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, not equal to. For any of these 5 conditions, switch will not going to work. The other reason switch is used in Java is that if you would like to concise your logic, instead of writing hefty if conditions, you can actually concise your logic in one nice way where you can actually see how it goes. So switches are used with certain limitations in Java. Up to the Java 7, you could not do comparison of string objects with values within a switch condition. So it was strictly for primitive types only. However, starting with Java 7, besides integers, doubles, floats, and characters, you can now also be doing switch comparison with strings. Here in this example, I have a variable called department code, a variable called location, and I have a scanner object. I'm going to be taking an input from user, which will going to be any of these department codes. If the department code is 2020, the location is Milwaukee. If it is 2025, it's New York. If it is 2031, it's Madison. If it's 2055, it's Houston. Otherwise, the default location is Atlanta, and I'm displaying that information back to user. Here is a run that I have executed right down in the console. As you can see, I wrote 22220, which is none of these codes, so it was defaulted to Atlanta. If I run it again, and I enter one of those codes that are listed up here, 2020, it says your location is Milwaukee. Now what I'm going to try to do in the remaining example is we would like to convert this if condition into an equivalent switch. So I will going to comment this block so that you have this in front of you while you see how switches are created. Now first of all, the switch statement has a block. The entire switch is written in the same block. One of the benefits is that if it's the same variable that gets to be used multiple times, you only need to write the name of the variable once, unlike if where you have to repeat the variable name with every condition. Now switch, since only works on equality, therefore in switch we have cases. Like here's a switch case, which means if the value of department code is equals to 2020, this is how you write that statement here. Then set the location to a value of Milwaukee. Now this statement that I wrote is written in several different ways. Some people write it like this, some people write it like this. However, it means the same thing. So for the purpose of simplicity, we're going to write it out like this. Similarly, you can have another case here down below, which is my next case, which is 2025. Okay, now I need to have different values for each case. In that case, it has to be the New York location. However, there's one more item that you got to be careful about. In switch, when you simply run through several different cases and you don't break them, what happens is Java ends up running all of them. So what you intend to do is, if a certain case is true, you would only like to run this statement which is associated with that case, and then you want to break out of the switch structure down here. So the break has to be written with every switch case, like this. So now you can be completing the remaining statements. Let me just copy paste here. So I have another location which is 2031. I have another location which is 2055. Madison is for 2031 and Houston is for 2055. Now how do you write else in switch? You basically write default, which is equivalent of writing an else in an if condition, and then you can be simply saying location equal Atlanta. Since this is the last statement, there's no need to write a break after the default. I just basically indented it inwards. So now, as you can see, how we have successfully changed our if conditions into a switch case, which is a far less amount of code and far more structured. However, with all these limitations in Java. Now, if we had to run this, it is asking for some kind of an input. So let me enter a number that does not exist as one of the cases. So we're going to be defaulting to Atlanta. Now, if I use one of the values, and it says whichever value I entered, it's Milwaukee. So that's a very basic example of how you can be converting an if condition into a switch case. In the next tutorial, I will going to be showing you how you can put multiple cases and tie them into the same set of statements. That's all for now for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.